about our stream here last week, Dan?
Good afternoon and welcome to round 6 from a damp and drizzly Knockhill circuit. Yeah, round 6, the final round of the 2025 MRF Clubmans Rallycross Championship in association with Mr Transit and the MOT Group, along with Penman Components, which are some of our sponsors for the weekend. This weekend is also round 10 of the Motorsport UK CrossCar Championship, and we can see that due to some incidents at the end of Heat 2, we're actually going to start Heat 3 with the end of Heat 2, so the first 2 races you're going to see are the first 2 CrossCar races. And joining me on comms today is Steve Nottage.
Good afternoon, John, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I hope that wherever you are is a little bit warmer and drier than where the drivers are. According to the information I've seen, track temperature is a sunny 7.3 degrees centigrade or thereabouts. Well, that's 7.3. Much more accurate can you get? And of course, for these guys in the cross cars, they have no windscreens in some cases, very much open to the elements. So heading into turn 1, it's all very tight.
Yeah, let's pick them up as we go down into turn 1, and I think it's Liam McMullen that's taken the lead there from Ben Bartlett in second place. It's Ben's first season in cross cars. Picking up third, we've got Stephen Burke, and then see
Ovenden lost a place on there.
One of the Ovendens. So we've got a very own former, Supermodified driver Todd Crooks. So Todd Crooks picking up the rear at the moment to trace down Will Ovenden as we're going through the undulating loose section here at Knockhill.
It's not too surprising that poor old Todd in number 48 is at the tail end. This is his very first time in a cross car. Many of these guys have been racing with us in the BTRDA as well as in the Five Nations, and they've got quite a few miles, quite a lot of seat hours under them. But nevertheless, what a great way to learn your racing skills, hone your car handling, and these things are so instant with their responses.
Yeah, so as we see them going through around McRae corner onto lap 2, we can see an overtake there from one of the national cross cars. I think that was Paul Brogan that was doing the overtaking there on Ben Bartlett to move up to 3rd and 4th place. So Ben's now overtaken Stephen Burke as well. Will Ovenden down in 5th place, and then Todd Crooks following through as well. But up the front, it's still Liam McMullen that's leading from number 46, which is Paul Brogan, which has made his way through, and then Ben Bartlett. A small mistake there for Stephen Burke, just clipping the bales there on the outside of the last turn. And I think we've got a spin. I think got a spin there. Not sure which driver it was, but
demonstrating very, very clearly how just a small error can really cost a lot in time and positions, and therefore points for the championship.
Yeah, it was indeed. I think that was Ben Walsh, 608, one of our national cross cars, joining us this weekend. Had the spin, and we can see there that Stephen Burke and Todd across the line were having a good old scrap.
And here you can see how busy the suspension is. It really working hard. One of the few times during the course of the season when we're actually racing on good old-fashioned mud.
Yeah, we have. So in these Motorsport UK and FIA spec cross cars, we've got 3 or 4 different manufacturers out there at the moment. So Lee McMullen's got the speed car at the front, followed by the McGill in 2nd and 3rd for Ben and for Will Ovenden, and then we've got one of the national cross cars in we've got Stephen Burke in 4th there in the Yakar, and then Todd in one of the Life TN5s, one of the first generation of cross cars to come out of Life. And then the back 2 vehicles, we've got the national cross cars, which is Paul Brogan and Ben Walsh, typically we see racing over in Ireland. So I think we're on the final lap. So the cross cars coming across the undulating loose sections there. Lee McMullen, I think, provided he doesn't have any errors, is going to come through and take the flag. And he's got a bit of a lead there. So Liam takes the flag. 2nd place for Ben Bartlett, 3rd place for Will Ovenden, 4th place for Stephen Burke, and then Todd picking up a good strong 5th place there, and then I think that was number 46 Paul Brogan, and I think 608 Ben Walsh. I'm not sure if he's still circulating or not, or if he's spun and retired, but he would have been the last finisher.
So we then have one more race of the second heats for today's today's activities. We had a few delays on track earlier on with some vehicle recoveries and looking at the tyres there. A good reminder that the tyres needed some alterations after we had one or two incidents, particularly on the transition between the tarmac onto the loose. People coming a little bit too wide and clipping the tyres, and in one or two cases rolling, and we don't like to see that. Thankfully drivers are okay. Some of the cars need a lot more attention. One or two won't be back out again, but we'll try and keep you up to date with those as we go through. So we have our last race of the Heat 2.
Last race of Heat 2, and the second CrossCar race promises to be a real strong race. So we've got David Kane on pole position. Then middle of the front row we've got 2 times British and European champion Patrick O'Donovan in the middle of the front row, and then on the outside we've got number 119 Terry McPherson on the outside. Second row we've got Bradley Turner, and we've also got Max Weatherly on the back row as well, and then made a mistake in the previous race. We've got 608, which is Paul Ben Walsh in this race. He wasn't in the previous race, so
which is why we couldn't see him.
Indeed.
So with this front row, particularly strong. David Kane had some very fast pace in the first heats, and of course in the middle, as you rightly said, John, Patrick O'Donovan, who 2 weeks ago was enjoying 30 degrees sunshine in Morocco, and here he is, the next best thing.
9 degrees in rain.
Yeah.
So close going down through Duffers dipping into McRae corner there, but David Kane currently got the lead from Patrick O'Donovan. Then in third place, I think that's Terry McPherson,
yes.
and then Bradley Turner, and at the moment championship leader Max Weatherly down in around 5th or 6th position at the moment. So Max has got a bit of work to do here, but up front with a clear screen is David Cade in the Speed Car Wonder. And
Max has just taken a place there.
Yeah, he has. I think it's taken over one of the national spec cars. So yeah, Max has overtaken Ben. A bit of a change as well going through the final turns. That's Bradley Turner overtaking Terry McPherson. And up
Someone's
front,
gone
it
wide.
looks like
Was it David Kane has gone wide?
David gone really wide on
He's handed
the
that
last
to
turn,
Patrick.
dropped down to 4th place and handed the lead to Patrick O'Donovan as they come over the line to start lap number 2. And then we've got a great battle going on for 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. So Terry McPherson hanging on to it with dear life there, picking up 2nd place, followed by a bit of a bump there between David and Bradley. And Bradley's now gone past Teddy to take up 2nd place. David Kane trying to go around the outside and has managed it, so David Kane moves himself
Back up into third.
back into 3rd place. Terry McPherson down in 4th, closely followed by Max Weatherly.
With these cross cars being that little bit smaller and certainly narrower than anything else that we see racing today, there's more opportunities for overtaking, as we've just seen these first 2 laps on the loose. It's something you have to be very brave for on a full size.
So they've got a car that's I think stopped on the final turn, I think. So
just trying to find out the details of who that is, who stopped. In turn, it's David Kane in 2nd, Bradley Turner, Teddy McPherson, and Max Weatherly, who's gathering in. Teddy McPherson, they previously raced with us in the juniors, and is thoroughly enjoying his transition from juniors into cross cars. We are looking forward in the very near future to having junior cross cars. The cars are available. We've got 1 or 2 drivers already signed up to join us in the future in the junior cross cars. We just need a few more people to sign up. Sort of 14 to 17-year-olds who watching what we're doing, want to get some of the fun in. It's certainly a good way to have fast speed in rallycross at not a great deal of money, so compared to some of the other categories. And we can see the category has just expanded massively in the last few years. So Patrick O'Donovan in his familiar position, leading and winning.
back now, yeah, third over the line. I think that's Bradley Turner in third. And yeah, Max Weatherly fourth. I think it was Teddy McPherson in fifth. I think we had one retire there from the National Cross Car. I think that was Ben Walsh, one of the National Cross Cars, that did retire in that one. So that concludes heat number 2. And yeah, we now start with the third heat, and the first race out should be the juniors.
Now, juniors have had a bit of an interesting time so far this morning, with starting with 4, but with some accidents I alluded to earlier on. We won't see all 4 of them out for heat 3, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Oscar Cooper was one of the ones that came off worse in the second heat. So unfortunately, Oscar's not going any further in the event with too much damage to the car. I know Hayden Harris also had an incident during heat number 2, but I do believe that he is due to start heat 3. We'll have to see who comes to the grid. So coming to the grid at the moment, I just saw Elliot Fuster there. He's due to start on the second row. On the front row we should have number 42, Oscar Cooper, but he'll be missing. On the outside of the front row should be Hayden Harris. Second row should be Elliot Fuster, and on the back row we should have Jimmy Jeekins, and then the final Swift, and we should have it's Aston Brown. So Hayden Harris is also, it looks like the whole of the front row is missing. Looking at it, going to the grid, so Hayden Harris is missing as well as Oscar Cooper. So hopefully Hayden manages to get himself and the car fixed for the finals, because the junior category and potentially the overall championship is up between Tony Juniors is up between Elliot Fuster and Hayden Harris, and we're getting ready for to go. So we're just waiting on the lights. Just follow your normal F1 countdown of your 5 lights on, and then there's a gap in between 2 and 7 seconds, which is a random draw, and away we go. So Elliot Fuster makes a good start and leads the 3 cars down into turn 1 at Duffers Dip and then into McRae Corner, and certainly close for second place. Elliot's got the lead at the moment, followed by Jimmy Jeekins in second place. It is bumper to bumper, I think we call it, Steve.
Yeah, indeed.
And Robbins Racing, they say, but it is a non-contact sport. And then in third place, Aston Brown. So yeah, let's see how these guys pan out going through the loose. Obviously they've got slightly more advanced than just standard suspension, but it's certainly the undulating loose, as you can see, certainly moves these cars around as they go through. But these juniors keeping control of the cars. And as Steve alluded to a second ago, juniors coming into Rallycross have now got 2 options. So I guess those that are potentially a bit more budget conscious have got the saloon car option, which you see on track at the moment. It's basically any production car or production based vehicle up to 1400cc, the front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. And then we saw the senior cross cars previously, but there is now an option for the junior cross cars to also be used, and there's been testing going on recently down at Pembrey, and we think we've potentially got 2 drivers that should be out in those junior cars at the 5 Nations round at Linden Hill in early November, and hopefully we can get a decent grid of those cars for next season. So yeah, it's time to spread out a little bit in the junior cars and the junior race in front of us at the moment. Elliot's still got the lead, followed by Jimmy Jeekins in second place in the only non-Swift we've got here this weekend. It's the Nissan Micra K12, and then in third place it's Oscar Brown, and Aston Brown, in third place as they come through. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Hayden manages to get himself out for the final. Hopefully he does, and hopefully we can have a good scrap between Hayden Harris and Elliot Fuster for the junior title, and then depending also on how some of the other categories pan out in their A finals, there is still a shout of the juniors potentially picking up the overall title as well, so we'll have to see how things pan out when we get to the juniors.
So this makes a change, seeing the juniors this morning racing in the first two rounds of heats. They've usually all been swarming together, and it's actually still a bit more strung out than we're used to seeing, but it does give us opportunity to concentrate on some of the car control or car hanging on to that we see on this loose stuff. We're seeing the effect that the jumps and bumps have, throwing the car, the suspension, the steering, and indeed the drivers around an awful lot. And I know from what we're seeing in the past that those truck tyres on the outside take no prisoners. So another lap down, another lap close to finishing is Elliot Fuster, followed by Jimmy Jenkins, Aston Brown still in third.
Yeah, as they're starting the last lap now, see Elliot's got on his way to continuing to lead this race with Jimmy Jenkins in a comfortable second place, and then Aston Brown and Swift in third place. So yeah, Aston Brown's debut season, first ever time at Knockhill for Aston, although Elliot and Jimmy have both been here before, so they've got a bit of experience on this circuit. But yeah, the loose section certainly throwing them around, and it's good to see the skills of the juniors and the junior cars coping well across the bumps.
This area here, the transition between the loose to the tarmac seems to have changed since we were here before 12 months ago. There's a little bit more of a kink being involved with the tyres, but there we are.
It's a win for Elliot. Picking up second place is Jimmy, and Aston has got a bit closer on that last lap.
And was that Jimmy slowing a little bit, or
possibly? It did look like he slowed up, or potentially had an incident in the final turn. But it's good to see Aston closing the gap as they went across the line.
And we shall see them all, and hopefully Hayden Harris as well, in the final for the juniors later this afternoon. So keep tuned.
Indeed, yeah, keep tuned for their rear final, which will come later on today, which will come down for a straight fight between Hayden Harris and Elliot Fuster. I think Jimmy Jenkins is currently third in the championship. Mathematically can still win, but I think he would need an incident with the first two in front for that to happen. So yeah, we're going on to the next race now, which is a couple of combined categories. So we've got the 4x4 cars here this weekend, which is two vehicles. So we've got Derek Job coming to the line in his bright yellow Escort Cosworth from across the Irish Sea. A lot of history in this car. First of all, built by Tony Bardi Motorsport for John Haffey. It was then picked up by Helmut Hoffeld in between, and then Derek Job has owned this car for a couple of seasons. In fact, a couple of seasons, 3, 4, if not 5 seasons in between. And then joining him on the front row, also with a 4x4 car, is local driver Graham Reid. Had a lot of work done on this car over the winter and the early part of this year, again by Tony Bardi Motorsport. Moved all the cooling, all the radiators and everything else to the boot in this car. Also a brand new gearbox in it, has certainly improved its pace. And then we've got the two BMW Minis, the R53 supercharged Minis. 2 entered here today. We've got Ryan Cooper in the white version, and then Wesley Wickens. It's a straight fight for those guys in the championship as well. I think Wesley pretty much now has claimed that, having now qualified for the angle itself. I don't think he can now be caught. And then yeah, it should be a good battle between the 4x4 guys. They were close earlier on as they go off the line. So Derek Job leading Graham away going off the line, and Ryan Cooper leading Wesley off in the Minis. So let's see how it pans out going down into Deffer's Dip and down into McRae Corner.
It's good to see at long last Graham Reid having some consistency and reliability from his quite unique Nissan Pulsar. He's been racing, has had it for 3 or 4 seasons now, and sadly it's often been a little bit unreliable, but with Tony Bardi's magical intervention and an awful lot of history in the sport, not just preparing cars but racing himself, Tony Bardi's quite a very good person to have on your side, and constructing or improving cars for you. Graham Reid on this occasion seems to be benefiting from his own innate skill, and with Tony Bardi's wonderful car preparation processes. So it's Graham Reid leading Derek Job. Then our 2 Minis, Ryan Cooper in third or first in class, and Wesley Wickens bringing up the rear, but not by much.
You know, they're having a Good little scrap in the back there, as I say. Wesley by default, by qualifying and completing one heat, qualifying for the finals, picked up the BMW class here this weekend and across the championship. But it's good to see him having a good battle with Ryan. And I know Ryan will be trying his best to beat Wesley for an overall event win this weekend, which should be a good story for the end of the season. We see Derek Job leading the minis and got a slight gap now to behind Graham Reid, that as Steve says, has just had a lot of work done over the winter in the early part of this year by Tony Bardi Motorsport. It's also been running Ian Barrett in the Five Nations with his Hector Christopherson VW Polo, and I know Tony's still involved in the preparation for Derek Job's Escort as well, so it's good to see him still involved across most supercars in the UK at the moment, which is good news. And Ryan's got a bit of a gap now on Wesley, whether Wesley's just taking it easy until he gets to the final before he maybe battles for the event win. We can see now that Ryan Wright seems to have, I don't know if Derek's got an issue and a problem, but he seems to have slowed up, and Ryan's right on his boot as they're going through the loose sections and off onto the back straight, onto the tarmac section. So yeah, I don't know if Derek's got an issue or whether Ryan's just putting his foot down, I guess.
So that's also partly the difference in the types of car that Derek Job's Escort Cosworth is four-wheel drive, but with suspension and other elements that go back quite some years, compared with the more recent builds of the two minis that on the straight that Derek Job's Escort Cosworth powers away, and then under the loose part of the track he'll bunch back up again. We saw this a little bit this morning, both rounds, both heats 1 and 2. Meanwhile, Graham Reid is galloping away, probably with a large smile on his face.
Yeah, we can see the three of them are properly closed up now behind Derek, so Derek seems to become a bit of a mobile chicane by default. Yes. And Derek seems to be struggling with something, not sure what.
Not to take away the win from Graham Reid.
So Graham's gone across the line now and then coming through the final turn. Derek's going to put the foot down and take second place in this race. Second place also in his out of the 4x4s, and then just across the line. Close. Yeah, it was very close. So Ryan took the win in the minis, and he took the win ahead of Wesley. So let's see how things pan out when it gets to the finals.
It's a great win for Graham, which will then guarantee him pole position for the final a bit later on. It's a great indictment for the time, effort, money, and in preparation for the car over the last 18 months or more. That car came from, I think it's Estonia or Latvia, somewhere Eastern Europe. That's had quite some history in the sport. And thinking of history in the sport, here come the classics. Do you like that, John? Nice segue from one to the other.
It was a great segue from one to the other. Steve, only you could get away with that one. But coming to the grid, we've got the Mr. Transit 395 classic cars. And heading up onto pole position should be number 24, Thomas Edmonds, who is in with a fighting chance of picking up the overall classic title this weekend. Middle of the front row should be number 55, and then on the outside we've got number 422, which is Helen Crooks. Number 55 in the middle of the front row should be Ian Biaggi. On the second row, although I'm not sure if he's starting because I know he's had issues since Heat 1, it should be Tony Lynch with the Peugeot 205. I know that they had electrical issues which have put him out during Heat 2, so let's see if he's not there on the grid, so his space on row number 2 is going to be empty. And then we've got the Fez Bomb, we've got the Evo powered Mark III Ford Fiesta for David Ewing on the second row, and then on the back row the ever so flamboyant Vince Bristow, and currently leading the Classic Championship Steve Gaunt in his Vauxhall Corsa. So from a Classic Championship perspective, it's a battle between the two Corsas. It's mathematically possible for other drivers to do it, but I think it will come down to Steve Gaunt and Thomas Edmonds when it comes to the final, as we go to the light countdown for this race. And away we go.
Absolutely.
Great start from Helen Crooks off the line there, leads them away, but I think David Ewing with the power of the Evo and the Evo Fiesta is going to come through and potentially take the lead from Ian Biaggi. Vince has come from the back row into third, and then Steve Gaunt in fourth as we move down, and pole sitter Thomas Edmonds seems to have gone backwards. So yeah, going through McRae Corner, Dave Ewing picks up the lead from Ian Biaggi, Vince Bristow, Steve Gaunt, Thomas Edmonds, and then Helen Crooks in the little 1300 Classic Mini picks up 5th place. And yep, Tony Lynch was a non-starter, so obviously electrical issues still causing problems, so hopefully Tony can get it fixed for the final, although he has already picked up the upper 1600cc class championship within classics. And yeah, we've got a great battle going on for second place. Is Vince going to try a flamboyant move around the outside? Not quite.
No, he's been nudged to take a very wide line round.
I think he was being quite tame and quite quite friendly there.
His usual flamboyant self.
Yeah, correct. I guess the boggy grass on the outside may well put him off, but
it might have encouraged him.
Power down the straight.
Has possibly got he's got the inside line, but is Ian going to give it up to him?
He's not going to give it up that easily. So
Ian
takes and keeps second place. Vince pushing hard in third. And we've got Steve Gaunt in the Corsa in 4th place at the moment, and I think it was Thomas Edmonds that picks up 5th. So yeah, what a great variety of cars in this category, and basically all you need is a car new within 1995. With running gear that was available at the same time and same period. So yeah, great gaggle of cars. Couple of minis, couple of courses.
Looks like Vince has just come off the loose. It's on the inside. You don't want to be on the inside, on the outside of Vince going around the corner.
While that battle's going on, Steve Gaunt has potentially come through as well, but then yeah, he seems to have gone backwards.
That's strange.
Yeah, hopefully there's no major dramas there for Steve. Hopefully it was just maybe a missed gear, but yeah, Vince has moved up to second place now behind Dave Ewing. Ian Biaggi in third, and Thomas Edmonds now in fourth, so he's now ahead of Steve Gaunt. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens when it comes to finals time.
The wonderful proposition of these two on camera now, Dave Ewing in the blue rear-wheel drive Fiesta and Vince Bristow in the black 3 Series BMW. Two of the more flamboyant drivers, and they both enjoy going sideways. They're not afraid to do it. Is it showboating? Is it racecraft? We don't care. It's very entertaining.
Indeed.
And with the conditions that we've got here, where you can see that it's still raining, on top of the rain that we've already had, we have some.
It's going to get him going down the line. So yeah, the two rear-wheel drive cars having a great battle, and it was Vince, I think, in Heat 1 and Heat 2 that picked up top spot, but Dave Ewing's got a little bit more grunt going down the start and finish straight. Vince is being quite careful there going into McRae Corner, and sticks it in second. Probably could have challenged there. I think if it was a final, I think he probably would snuck it down the inside. But yeah, they're on the last laps. Let's see what happens on the last lap.
Vince
is Vince going to try a daring move around the outside going into the final turn, potentially? Ian Biaggi still in third. Thomas Edmonds.
Vince is demonstrating his raw speed because he got skill. Oh hello! Oh no! Now can Vince showboat it out and keep it going on opposite lock?
Not sure.
Oh no! Oh, meanwhile Ian Biaggi's going. Thank you very much. I'll have some of that.
Disaster for Vince. Disaster for Ewing in the Fiesta. Biaggi picks up the spoils, and in actual fact it was Steve Gaunt that got past Thomas Edmonds to pick up second place, Thomas in third.
I'm glad you spotted that. There was so much going on there.
Yeah, there was.
Wow.
Yeah, half spin from Dave Ewing. It became a spin that wasn't a spin that then caused Vince to take avoiding action, and we can see the replay on screen. So yeah, a little bit of too much power, and yeah, Vince was
going to get away with it, but no,
not quite. And yeah, Ian Biaggi and Steve Gaunt and Thomas Edmonds pick up the pieces, and yeah, great bit of action for the end of the race.
Wow, yes. I was just wondering whether Dave Ewing's picked up a little bit of damage to his near side front wheel as he drove away after that incident. Wheels seem to be wobbling around a little bit more than he would have expected.
Yeah, I didn't actually see. I saw Vince in the background. I didn't actually see Vince come across the line. So don't know if Vince also had issues and if he's trundling around at the back, but yeah, he may well have gone off to the paddock.
Now, time for the super production. So, like, 4 laps within here, and then two more runs with the CrossCar and into the final. No. I'll just look at the individual like oh. Yeah, they're very close with it. You know, it's just happening this year, though. Although the person in the shorts is going to take cover of it. Probably why, yes, we'll hypothermia affected. That was yeah. Yeah, I'm not a short guy, so I'm still a bit. That's quite close to it. Yeah, great mammoth, mammoth, that's the guy, mammoth. No, I believe man and husband. Oh dear. Mammal. Yes, you are a mammal. Yeah. No, I'm not mine. FN. Right, 4 laps of Supermodified, 2 dominant Vauxhall VX220s of Nathan McDonald, Bleedale towards the back of the grid, but I think that's not going to hold them down for very long. Had a great day so far. A win at least, 1 for David, 1 for Jason. Going to get that second win of the day on someone else in the Supermodified category. The lights start to illuminate on the gantry. There they are. Out go the lights and off we go then. Brilliant start then across most of the 67 years. Put it back going again, or I'm going to get a red flag here. Put it back going again. That's original Portugal safety. I've got the car with no power getting off the road again. And really happy that because of a few problems so far today, out of the tri-oval leg, out towards the start of the second lap of the already at the front of the field of Darren Field, opening up the gap of 47.8948. Taking that time by Darren Field at the front of the field. just the battle of the courses, the first week. Yes, it is the field forward, and it's the field and those by over a 45 and we are, and we're nearly to the end now. That is the main here is the number 66 star. 8% flag with the 80% right in the center flag. They'll fight it out in the final. Of Felix Sauer Current or 704 all here for start of the final. It's going to be probably very heavy enough to come into the new again, and it's going to be Derby, the second line, and the final over the spot. Just up there, and it's the Supermodified and Production. So that will be then 4 laps for the third and final production class. back to Knockhill FM. It's time for the production class to have their third heat. A bit below to Alex, who has agree with you, but this underneath our solvency box, very windy, yes, it is, yeah. So, big respect, really, the conditions out there, it's got a good view of the rallycross. In fact, well worth it. In fact, what the grandstand view of that in the classic a couple of weeks ago, it's picked a good spot, we'll be enjoying the day, despite the weather. Lots cars coming up towards the next one to a big spot now. And of course, the benefit right now of Alex Fletcher, the number one car, is he's very, very strong indeed throughout the day. Can anyone get on some space with speed? And he corrects a few times, but never had the win record from the track. This is the race where that happens, the third and final for the production category. After two CrossCar and then it takes to the final. Second guest point on the two for the final. Well done, and it's a great start from the mighty Alfa Romeo 147 of Mark Henry, but now the Renault Clio of well done gets the power down. By a couple of times, a little bit wide on to the wood stuff. More well done with mid-40 there in the orange patch for the third place. Then it's the 45 from Edwin Shepard. But where is Alex Fletcher, a double winner so far today? He is literally very back in the order. It's best I did not expect that. The engine test on the Lucifer's in it. He's got a lot of faster with the certificate in mind to put that thing to. He's got at all. It's just struggling to lay the power down. Or is it just standby and keep it for a double? I don't know.
Front Mark Henry with the Alpha, Will Noon chasing him down, the Renault Clio, Finvar in third, Ted Shepard fourth, and then we've got Alex Fletcher in fifth, and then Andy Harris currently bringing up the rear in his Suzuki Swift as they go on to lap number 2.
Now watching Mark Henry earlier on the loose, he was quite enthusiastic, putting the back of the car out quite a lot, and bearing in mind it's a front-wheel drive car, it demonstrates he's going for it, and that finished off with him doing 360 spin at the end of towards the end of the second heats, which was all his own work.
Yeah, we can certainly see the difference in the categories in terms of suspension and travel. You can certainly see the super-modified cars and the cross cars, by all intents and purposes, gliding over the bumps, whereas certainly the Saxos and the C2 were bouncing around. And we've got a change of the lead, so Will Noon, I think Mark Henry was a little bit kind there, giving up the inside, going down into McRae corner, so Will Noon now takes up the lead.
But he had the fastest lap on that previous lap, the second lap, so
he was chasing him down, and now got the lead as they go through the undulations.
Is he going to be able to defend? It's very
it's a combination of trying to defend and lead at the same time, I guess. And let's see the bounces as we go through. We can see the bonnets now picked up on Ted Shepard's C2, so
hopefully that will stay in place.
Yeah, I think I'll probably blame a mechanic there as opposed to the bumps. But great battle up front. Will Noon in the Renault Clio 182. Being chased down by Mark Henry, as I say, in the very unique and unusual 147 in this production category. Bit of a gap.
The fastest time again. So very good. That's the ex-Mark Finch car. And Will's had that now for a good 2 seasons. And meanwhile, Mark Henry's been campaigning this 147 for considerably longer than that. And as John pointed out, has plans to put a turbocharged Mito engine in. So then, as I said to him earlier on, in the paddock. Mark, you were saying that this time 12 months ago, and oh golly, you can see the standard suspension really struggling to keep Tim on terra firma.
Yeah, Ted Shepherd's obviously established that the C2's too heavy and is now trying to lose the bonnet and the rear bumper by the looks of things. So yeah, bit of squirming around there as we come to the flag for Will Noon takes the
very well-deserved win.
It was Mark Henry in second place. Quite a big gap, but they are 2 litres to 1600cc cars. So 1600 winner, I guess, in class is Finn, and then we've got Ted Shepherd.
long gap there before Alex Fletcher appears here. He's taking the flag. Now the question then is, was he deliberately conserving the car, or has he picked up some problem? If that is the case, then as is always the way with Alex, he brings learners with him from Loughborough College doing their motorsport qualification, and this gives them a great opportunity to prepare the cars before the race, to maintain it during the course of, and last night having arrived with the dry setup on the car, which they still have on the car from the previous round at Liddon Hill in very dry conditions, and suddenly they're looking at the weather forecast thinking, we need a softer setup for the wet conditions, which is what they're running now. But if there is a problem with Alex's car, but hope that between them they'll be able to work out what the problem is and have the parts and certainly the skills they have to do the necessary repairs. So Will Noon putting in a very good show for himself, and not giving anything to anyone else, doing it all for himself, and quite rightly so. There has been talk, mostly by his own team, that he's on occasions let people past, but no, that's definitely not the case this time. It was all his own work, and good to see. So, Uncle John, what's next?
So up next should be the final 2 races of heat number 3, and this will be the 2 cross-car grids. I'm just waiting for the grid to be sent through to me. But we'll start with the slower vehicles from how they finished in heat number 2, and then we'll have the faster vehicles. We have the slower 6 in this first race you're about to see. We follow the 5 Nations format when it comes to gridding these guys up, so it goes in their finishing positions in terms of time from the previous heat. So like I say, the slowest 6 that we've got here this weekend will be up first, and they will be followed by the quickest vehicles, which from what I remember rightly back from heat 2, the likes of David Kane, Patrick O'Donovan, Will Ovenden, etc. Terry McPherson will all be in the quicker race. And let's see who comes down to the grid for heat 3 in the first cross-car race as they come down.
Of course, one of the runners in this next race that we shall see for the rather than saying slower, can we say they're not quite so fast cross cars? One of the drivers is our very own Todd Crooks, usually seen in the Supermodifieds in his amazing BMW Mini, and unfortunately too much work was needed to be carried out on the Mini. So rather than twiddling his thumbs and getting in the way, he's hired for the event one of these cross cars, and full of excitement and trepidation, I think it would be fair to say, and then when he saw the forecast, wondering whether it was such a good idea after all, he's invested in a waterproof duvet with arms and legs, essentially, to keep himself warm between races.
Call it a waterproof onesie.
A waterproof onesie, yes.
He did call it something else, but I'm going to call it a onesie for the time being.
Okay. This is a family show.
It is
clean.
A family show.
Yes.
It is a family show. But which we have the vehicles to come down to the grid, as Steve has alluded to. We've now got 5 or 6 different manufacturers and different distributors of these vehicles now across between UK and Ireland, which is great news for the category. And within that, all of the manufacturers have all got hire vehicles available, so you can certainly get in touch with us at the Championship or people within the 5 Nations Championship when it comes to hiring these vehicles, and hopefully we continue the momentum of these categories over the winter in terms of growing in numbers. And as I alluded to earlier on, we're also hoping to get the junior cross cars, which is 13 to 17 year olds, off the ground with the first 2 races hopefully down at Linden Hill in November. And again, we've got potentially at least 2 on the grid for that event, and there are options to hire and purchase junior vehicles going into 2026.
And whether junior or seniors, the cross cars can be hired for a one-off meeting, or indeed for the whole season. So if you're tempted, and why would you not be, then you can speak to John or Geraldine at BTRDA Clubmans Rallycross Championship. They will put you in touch with the necessary people and help to get the ball rolling and get the cars running. So you can give it a try. See if it is as much fun as it looks like on the screen, which it will be, and away you go. So, under starters' orders.
And in this race I can see we've got Max Weatherly there in the front row. Hasn't had the strongest of qualifying so far, so he'll be hoping for a good run. We've got Stephen Burke on the front row alongside him, and I can see we've got Todd Crooks, and I think at least 1 if not 2 of the national cross cars in this as well, Ben Walsh and Paul Brogan. So yeah, a bit of contact as we go off down the line, and it is in fact one of the national cross cars, number 46, that picks up the lead, and that's Paul Brogan.
With Max Weatherly in second.
It is indeed. Stephen Burke in third, fourth, sorry. We've got Ben Walsh in between that, again in one of the national spec cross cars, and then at the picking up the rear is Todd Crooks, and like I say, it's his first event in that higher cross car, and certainly having fun. But yeah, Max will be certainly hoping to pick up a race win, as he needs to try and get as far up the grid in that A final to keep his championship title alive.
And John, perhaps you could explain the difference between the national spec cars and the others.
I can certainly try. Ultimately, they still have FIA chassis, sometimes slightly older versions, but they're still FIA chassis. Ultimately, the difference is with the national spec vehicles, you can run either a 750 or 1000cc motorcycle engines, whereas the FIA spec or the Motorsport UK spec vehicles we have in the main championship, they have to run the 850cc motor, which is the MC09 engine. That's fundamentally the main difference. The other difference, I guess, is the tyres. So the national spec ones can run on any tyres they choose. At the moment they're using Gold Speeds, whereas in the actual Motorsport UK CrossCar Championship they've got to run the mandated MRF tyres. So they're the fundamental differences, but in terms of chassis, weight, they're very similar.
I think just then, John, Max Weatherly was fortunate to get away from. I think he was going to go in the pit lane.
Avoiding either. He was doing maybe on a tyre change possibly, but yeah, he was getting fairly close to the pit wall. Come the end of coming through the final turn.
Maybe
yeah, we can see Max.
Maybe he's just where he's watched Dave Ewan in previous years. I remember last year Dave managed to do a full 360 at around the same sort of point in dry conditions, which is quite some going.
Yes, no, indeed.
It's not the fastest way of going about it.
No, definitely not. But yeah, Paul Brogan still got the lead at the moment. Max is chasing him down, and as I say, Max will be keen to try and get past so he can move up the qualification order. When it comes to the A final, we've got Ben Walsh there in third place, Stephen Burke's there in fourth, and yeah, we've got Todd Crooks having a good run in the older version of the TN5 Life.
Paul Brogan in the lead is making a good claim for that lead with another fastest lap, and Max Weatherly's got to put all of his experience and skill to good use to try and catch up. Not easy when all of these cars are very fast, very tricky to handle.
Yeah, they are. They do have good suspension and good travel on the suspension, so you can see them going across the bumps as if they've been made and designed to be at Knockhill. But yeah, taking the win is Paul Brogan, followed by Max Weatherly, and then we've got Ben Walsh in third place, Stephen Burke in fourth, and then
there's Todd.
There's Todd. Comes Todd Crooks across the line, slightly different from his normal super modified car, but certainly having some good fun.
And at that point, John makes the biggest understatement of the afternoon so far. A bit of a change from a front-wheel drive turbocharged Mini and to one of these wonderful cross cars. Clearly we're on the wind down. It's not the usual racing line being taken, but hey, he's having fun. I can't blame him. So as the finalists from our previous race come to a stop, the marshals will stop them and allow the. Oh no! On this occasion, they're going to prove me wrong and let them off the track, or are they? Because waiting just in front of the green truck at the top of the screen on the left-hand side there, we have a line of more cross cars, which are the faster cars in line, ready to go out for their third heat. So here we have, I expect that's Patrick O'Donovan with David Kane in second, doing a little bit of cleaning of tyres as they then climb the hill to the grid, where the marshals will efficiently put them into place, and the drivers have got the job of making sure they don't roll forwards or backwards on the grid, because if you've not had the opportunity to do a track walk around Knockhill, it's much steeper. The hills are much steeper than, in real life than they look on the screen. It's quite something. It means that for the touring cars, that the cars are doing a hill start on the grid itself. Right, with our next lot of runners safely on the track, the door stays open, drivers are away, and the safety gate is closed.
There is the third row on the grid. For the all-star front row, you see all three drivers fighting at the front of the pack all day. This is the third and final heat before the critical final.
Here we go, ready to run. Red lights going on. Revs have risen, and these motorbike-powered cross cars are away. It's all nip and tuck. David Kane in the white cross car was defending, but oh wow, he's in third. So Patrick O'Donovan showing much of his rallycross skill. There's Teddy McPherson there, 119. In the lead with his wipers going to and fro. Bartlett and number 44 tail of that group in his first season in cross cars. And we have someone stopped on that final corner. I haven't worked out yet who that might be. Lynn McMullen and David Kane's bumper to bumper, if they had bumpers. So clearly it's Patrick O'Donovan who'd stopped on the last corner. Whether it's a mechanical issue or not, we are yet to find out. The nose of the cart drops down heavily under braking, and then raises up again as they accelerate up the hill, and Lynn McMullen leads. David Kane's doing all that he can. He's just set the fastest time for that previous lap, and there is just a whisper between the two of them. It's great to watch. Nothing in it. This is raw motorsport. Love it. One noses down again under heavy braking. Liam Mullen goes wide, brushes the tyres on the outside, and David Kane goes, "Thank you very much, I'll have some of that," and takes the lead for the first time in this race. And now it's all for Liam Mullen to do to try and get that position back. Meanwhile, Teddy McPherson's set the fastest time for that previous lap. It's all going on here, guys and girls. And David Kane, who showed superb speed in the first two heats, has now got the opportunity to extend his legs, if that's not automatically impossible, and put some distance between him and Liam Mullen. And there it is. David Kane leads, he's won, and that should be enough for him to have pole position in our final a little later. I'm pleased to see that Patrick O'Donovan was able to keep going at the rear, so quite what that's done for his group position for the final it remains to be seen, but we will find out in the fullness of time. Here we go with some overtaking action. So Liam Mullen just goes wide, brushes the tyres, and David Kane needs no second thoughts. He's in there. So it might have a little bit of a delay whilst those tyres that Liam relocated are put back where they started. So each of these bags has got quite a few tyres in them. Arguably, if you're out on the grass anyway, you've got enough of a penalty there, just because you're going to be hemorrhaging time. You're so much more slow on the grass, heading in the wrong direction and not following the race line. But as a good incentive not to go too wide, these great big heavy bags of tyres, which could do a lot of damage, they are there on the side of the track. Now our drivers appearing here today, some have travelled from far and wide. Quite a few have come from the very south coast of England. Thinking of people like Vince Bristow, who's come up from Hastings, and others from Brighton area, and you can't get much further south than that. And of course we've got Derek Jobb and one or two other fellow Irishmen have come across for the racing here today. And whilst we had clear weather and a bit of sunshine yesterday for the journey up, we knew that it was going to be wet today. And of course, any weather is rallycross weather. It doesn't matter. We can race in snow. This has happened from the very early days of rallycross, when cars would sometimes have gone through scrutineering and then core plugs pushing out of the engine blocks, where the teams have been concentrating on the performance of the car and not thinking about antifreeze and basics like that. It has been known, and I won't embarrass the Triumph 1300 4x4 team by mentioning that. Oh, hang on. But yeah, that is, thankfully, someone spotted the core plugs being pushed out, drained the block, pushed the plugs back in, put antifreeze and water in, and were able to race. That's back at Linden Hill in very early in the 1970s, before I can remember. And those, of course, are the days when, like now, watching the racing live, but you only had the three channels to choose from. And the old adage always was, win on a Sunday and sell on a Monday. Most notable example of that springs to mind is the very first ever Rallycross meeting at Linden Hill, 4th of February 1967, when Vic Elford, who's a renowned racer of Porsche cars in various formats, was racing a demonstrator on the sole importer of Porsche cars into the UK at that time, and was racing the car. The people from the importers were watching the racing and seeing their lovely road car demonstrator being smashed to pieces, and there was hardly a piece of glass left on it by the end of the race meeting, and were very frustrated with Vic Elford, and told his wife by phone, make sure Vic comes in to see us first thing in the morning. And by the time Vic summoned up the courage to go into the importers at lunchtime on that Monday, he was welcomed with open arms, because having seen the racing on the Sunday, they'd already sold 4 Porsche 911s brand new that morning. So true to the old idea of race on a Sunday, sell on a Monday. But today, the last round of many of the classes that we have here today, not so the cross cars racing on the 8th and 9th of November at Linden Hill, but for everyone else racing today, this is the final round of this year's championship, and as an extra bonus, double points are available. We're playing for double points. So this particular round plays a very important part on everyone's competition positions. They can't decide to perhaps not race because of the distance they have to travel. Well, we know that there are a number of drivers from Scotland and the very north of England who travel significant distances the rest of the season. So it's only fair that those from the south of England travel all the way up. It's a lovely journey. If you've never done it before, I thoroughly recommend it. Come along next year. We'll be here around the same sort of time and get a dose of Rallycross in person. But for those of you who can't, we will be here with our live stream, doing the best we can, showing you the action from right around the circuit. That's one disadvantage. Some of the circuits that we race at, you can't see all the way round, and at least here we have cameras dotted about, so we can see the action right the way around the track. And action, we have plenty of that for you. We're expecting our first final this afternoon to be the juniors, the 14 to 17 year olds, and we've seen many people over the years taking this journey into rallycross and motorsport more widely, from juniors into senior motorsport, rallycross and circuit racing alike. I'm thinking of Tom Ovenden, who won some years back now, won the junior championship in his Suzuki Swift, and has recently won one of the mini championships, and I beg his pardon, I can't remember quite which one it is, and I don't want to speculate as to which one because I might get it wrong. His younger brother Will has also won the juniors in the past, and we see him here racing this afternoon in cross cars. Robert Savitols is another past junior rallycrosser with great success, who is doing amazing things on the continent in European rallycross, in supercars and other classifications. So great way to start. I know that a number of drivers from abroad, including one of the Hansen brothers, Kevin Hansen, who's won in the junior formula in rallycross, started his career because he was able to start racing earlier over here in the UK in the junior formats than he would be able to back home. So great way to learn the racing skills, car handling skills. It's only slightly worrying when you see a load of juniors at the beginning of the season driving through the paddock, and you're wondering how good are they at being able to stop if someone walks out in front of them. Hasn't been a problem, but if you're thinking about it, then either contact John Rook or Jordine Crooks directly, or through the BTRDA Clubmans social media pages, and see if you can work out a way of getting in contact with one of the teams who can help you or help your son or daughter get a seat, get their license, and get out on track, live the dream. So at this point in the proceedings, there are calculations still being made as to work out who is going to appear in which grid position in the various classes that we have. They all have their own finals, and we may be treated at the very end of proceedings with a super final, beg your pardon, where the fastest drivers are invited to a little race all on their own, and there's for nothing more than just pride and the fun of it. Looking at the list of the various drivers that are coming up in our various classifications, it strikes to me how many of the drivers here are they're not supported by large corporations with huge budgets, but are in fact they're working hard to make ends meet and have some money left over to go racing, preparing their cars themselves, or with friends and family, many of whom are then here and at other meetings cheering them on. And it's very much the Clubmans Championship, where all these guys are clubmen. They're not professionals. They're doing it for the love of the sport, love of speed, the love of competition, and actually within the Rallycross paddock there's always great camaraderie, even to the point where time after time, right through the history of Rallycross, direct competitors have helped their competitors to sort out problems where perhaps a direct competitor has a problem with their car and they're not going to be able to fix it in time, but they're helped by their direct competitors and their teams to get the cars sorted out so they can race on track rather than being beaten by default because they can't make the fine or make the racing. So it's great. If you've not experienced the buzz of a Rallycross paddock, I would recommend it thoroughly. It's a very, very friendly place. Drivers are usually very happy, so they're not repairing their cars. They're very happy to talk to people and talk about their cars and their racing experiences. Encourage you to get going yourself on a Rallycross journey. And unlike many of the other forms of motorsport, where you have to pay an awful lot of money just to get into the paddock and look at cars from a distance, with Rallycross, apart from at the very highest levels of European and World Rallycross, you can usually get right into the paddock itself and see the cars, touch the cars, and even on occasions, if you ask them politely, drivers will allow you to even sit in their cars. No guarantees that happening are intended by that statement, but I've known it from my own experience of being in Rallycross paddocks over quite a few years now. Gosh, 45 years old. That's nearer 50. Moving on. So I will be back with you in a very short while with our first final, which will be the juniors having their A final, and we shall join you then and share the joy and the fun together. I'll speak to you in a short while.
welcome back. That's short period of a very gracious before we get into the finals. I'm next joined by Chris Cicerone, Peter Mackay. You were Peter Mackay joined us from the start.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Knockhill in not so sunny Scotland, and we have the first of this afternoon's finals for you. It's the Junior Championship. We have 3 runners. Elliot Fuster on the left hand side of his screen there in the Suzuki Swift, the white one with the green, and in the middle is Jimmy Jeekins, and on the right, oh, lights on, ready, here we go, and away they go. Now these juniors have aged between 13 and 17. There's some very close racing here so far in this this particular classification. Elliot Fuster in the white car is currently leading the championship, and it's unusual to see him not leading, but sure enough he is stuck in second at the moment. Jimmy Jeekins in the only non-Suzuki Swift here this afternoon. So it's Aston Brown leading in the black Suzuki Swift, with the white Suzuki Swift of Elliot Fuster second and Jimmy Jeekins in third. I was trying to apply a little bit of pressure on Aston in front of him. Coming down to this awkward turn 2, where there's been some drama involving a couple of the other runners in the juniors this morning, resulting in some retirements, unfortunately. So we are left with but 3 runners for this final. Hoping that this final runs a little more smoothly than the third round of heats, where we had a couple of restarts. And still, almost as one car, Aston Brown with Elliot Fuster coming up on the inside, and I think he's got the legs on Aston. Yes, a successful swap of leads. Jimmy Jeekins now paying careful attention to Aston Brown's back bumper. How things can change rapidly in rallycross as they bounce across probably the only real proper mud that we have in rallycross currently. Gives the drivers a real challenge. Aston Brown went very wide at that same point on the previous lap and clipped the barriers. At least this time he's already moved the barriers, so he can't clip them again. He's now got his eyes as much on his rearview mirror as he has going forwards, allowing Elliot Fuster to say, "Thanks boys, I'm off," and setting another fastest lap.
Insofar as the battle for second place is concerned, remember we had the heat races, there were 4 laps in total, each final of course, an additional lap, 1 extra lap.
And onto the loose again. You can see the cars bouncing and squirming about. It's as much as you can do to hold on. It's a good job they're strapped in with their 5-point harnesses. Suspension's working overtime. Will Aston Brown go what? No, he's taken a much cleaner line this time through. Dodging through this chicane and back onto the tarmac, where we're coming to the last corner, or is it the last 2 corners? I think most drivers seem to take it as one long corner. We're now on to our last 5th lap of 5. Aston Brown just put in the fastest lap of the 3 of them. Fastest lap of the race. So Elliot Fuster's done rather well for himself this year. He's put a number of very strong performances in, having had a lot of competition working against him. So this is pretty much as good as it gets for Elliot. This time, hello. Jimmy Jenkins showing that you can throw the back of a front-wheel drive car out if you try hard enough. He's 16, Jimmy Jenkins, so not old enough to drive on the road, but very competent on the racetrack. So a good win for Elliot Fuster. Second was Aston Brown, third Jimmy Jenkins, which by my reckoning means that Elliot should have won the junior championship.
And of course, a potential graduation to the super final, which we will have later on this afternoon. So
there'll be much happiness in the Fuster garage, gazebo, to be more accurately described, as Elliot trundles slowly back to the paddock. We shall prepare ourselves for our next final. Our next final will be a combination of the Clubman 4x4s and the BMW Minis. They are there waiting in the paddock. If you look at the green truck on the left hand side, you can see the yellow Escort Cosworth of Derek Job moving, and the white Nissan Pulsar of Graham Reed driving out onto the track, ready to take their positions on the grid for the next final. And then our finished finalists for the juniors will then make their way back to the paddock, where they can at last relax, lick their wounds or celebrate, and then start loading up. So here we have 2 classes on the same grid. The front 2 cars are 4-wheel drives in the Clubman 4-wheel drive classification. Graham Reed with his quite novel, by UK standards, Nissan Pulsar, and Derek Job in the Escort Cosworth, the yellow car, towards the right hand side there. Derek Job has come over from Ireland for this particular meeting. He's a huge history in the sport. In third place on the grid, we've got the first of our minis. So 2 grids of 2 really. We'd expect the 4-wheel drives to go whizzing off, and it's actually the first time today that we've seen Derek Job take the immediate lead. But it's about pulling on the brakes for the first hairpin there, and successfully done. So we've got Ryan Cooper in the yellow car, number 11, and Wesley Wickens in the orange Mini 27. So you see quite a difference between the front-wheel drive supercharged Minis and the 4-wheel drive cars in front of them. Now these cars, they look very standard, and in fact they are modified to quite some degree, but they're carefully monitored, so that the modifications don't become too much out of control. They're both started off as road cars, these 2, and have limited modifications to suspension, brakes, and engine management systems, in addition to the roll cage, fire suppression, equipment that you'd expect, the 5-point harness, and then the drivers, as well as having the flame-proof race suits and underwear. Yeah, very sexy, apparently. And as well as all of that, in the crash helmets, they have hands devices, which are a way of locating helmets onto shoulders so that people don't have whiplash and other upper spinal injuries, which is not something that we want to have. So, cars finishing the second lap, onto the third with our leader, Graham Reed, having set the fastest lap, with Derek Jobb in the yellow Escort, Ryan Cooper, and then Wesley Wickens has dropped off a little bit pace-wise. Why should that be? This particular Nissan Pulsar has had a lot of work done on it by Tony Bardi, well known to those of us who love our rallycross, and having been a racer himself over many years, Tony, and been at the very upper end of rallycross and rally car preparation for many years. It's not an exaggeration to say that any car that Tony prepares, you could eat your dinner off it. Meticulous in his preparation, and Graham Reed is now benefiting from Mr. Bardi's magical fingers, and seeing that Nissan disappear off into the distance somewhat. There he goes. Unlike most of the drivers here, Graham's had a very short journey because he is a Scot, and so whereas every other race he goes to has a long distance, this one's on his doorstep. We're now in a position here where Derek Jobb in the Escort seems to have slowed up somewhat, and the minis are catching him. Oh, and looks like he's got an overheating. Wow, see that in real time. Oh gosh, he's having to retire. Oof. So something's gone amiss here. Meanwhile, nothing really changes for the minis. They're let loose. They don't have don't have the chicane in front of them of Derek Jobb. There's our leader, Graham Reed, and you can see the length of advantage that extra power in the four-wheel drive has enabled him to go. Going hard on the brakes for the final corner for the final time. And there's a very happy Scot. Good for you, Graham, well done. Great performance. And Ryan Cooper is he's going to get his race win for the mini classification, and thoughts turn to Derek Jobb with a no finish, did not finish, and possibly a fair old bill to sort out whatever's ailed the classic Escort. I'm sure we'll see him back again next season. And having seen him racing over in Mondello Park 2 weeks ago myself, so he loves the sport. He'll be back again. It does look as though the car's crabbing a little bit as it was driving away there. The front wheels and rear wheels not necessarily in alignment with each other. So that's to be expected given the abuse that the cars get as and the torture that they have going around the rallycross track. By my reckoning, we should now have classics. No, we don't. My reckoning is wrong. We've got the Supermodifieds, and that big red Mercedes Beastie is back. We didn't see Rich Hill in that Mercedes out for the third heats. Maybe he was conserving the car because he knows that he's got a position on the front row of the grid for the final, which is fine. You can do that. So the super modified categories, such a wide, diverse range of cars. It's fantastic to see. We've got two identical cars, near enough. There's Vauxhall VX220s with Jason Bleasdale in pole position, his brother Darren Bleasdale in the middle, Rich Moore there in the very distinctive red Mercedes, which is BMW powered. I'd always thought it was Mercedes powered, but I have now been corrected by the man himself. So between them, they all go. They are rear-wheel drive. All three of those cars, and effectively mid-engined. All three of them. We do have some front-wheel drive cars here, demonstrating that you can have fast cars with front-wheel drive. When it comes to rallycross, rear-wheel drive has an advantage because there's so much is won and lost on the burn to the front to the first corner. If you're in the first corner first and have the whole shot, then you can control the race. It can be quite difficult to overtake in rallycross. A lot more overtaking happens in rallycross than other formulas. So, red lights, go green, and away we go. We have a split with Bleasdales. So, hello, we got spinner there. Oh my word, that was close. Having had his own little dramas, he wanted to bring Steve Rettu into it as well. Wow, so there's Kieran Curran, another of our Irish competitors here in his Corsa B. There's Rich Moore in the still red Mercedes. And we have oh hello. No, this is not meant to do that. And let's open things up somewhat. So we've got Steve Gaunt there in his Corsa. There he is. And Steve Rettu in the MGZR. My word, it's all going so. The straight line speed of the VX220 shown very clearly there. So 66 is Jason Bleasdale, who's just making life difficult for himself, but will perhaps have opportunity to demonstrate how fantastic these cars run. Not only are they very very fast in a straight line, but they just seem to bounce over the top of the ruts. So, Dale Ford, beg your pardon, is currently in third. We shall see the very similar looking car of Steve Gaunt in a race shortly. But it was Steve Rettu in his MGZR being overtaken by a rapidly following VX220. So our leader, Jason Bleasdale, has started his next lap already. We've got Darren Bleasdale there behind Dale Ford. We can expect to see those positions changing. Will Darren Bleasdale be able to catch up with Rich Moore? He's trying his best. There's our leader, Jason Bleasdale. Rich Moore is a little bit tentative over the ruts. He's actually running a very soft suspension on that particular car with a transaxle arrangement designed by Mr. Martin Skanker, who's a very well-known name, multiple European champion and general rallycross superstar. He designed that suspension for Rich. With a 4-litre BMW engine, is very quick in a straight line, but Darren Bleasdale looks like he's trying his best to get past him, or maybe he's just sitting there to watch the front of the car off. So Jason Bleasdale heading off the loose for the last time and onto the tarmac to take the final corners of this final lap, and therefore subsequently the checkered flag. Very good return to BTRDA action for young Jason. He'll be preparing his car ready for a full season of Rallycross X in Europe over this next season, this next year. So Kieran Curran struggling there. Oh, my word, that was close. But I think Rich Moore just about got second, although maybe if the race was a lap longer he might not have been able to defend. So, hello, there's the BMW. You can't park there, sir. Unfortunately, it does mean that he'll have to be recovered, which is a shame, but at least the car was safe, and so is the driver. It's Rob Gray in his BMW Compact. One of the few cars at races here that has an MOT. Now Kieran Curran is yet to take the checkered flag. I do wonder whether he was slowed because of the contact that he'd had with the back of Darren Bleasdale's car when the two of them went spinning off just before the last corner. Our recovery guys are on the spot straight away. And whilst it's not good to see the car in the kitty litter like that, at least it's a lot better than seeing it slamming against a barrier or some tyres. It'll run another day. Our next finalists, those for the production class, are just working their way out onto the grid. Marshals are obviously well wrapped up for track temperatures that I'm now reliably informed are a whole 7.8 degrees centigrade. It's raining in the air. Some wipers are going, and in pole position on the left hand side there in the Honda Civic is last year's overall BTRDA Rallycross champion Alex Fletcher. Middle front row is Will Noon in the X-Mark Finch Renault Clio 182. On the right hand side of the screen is the rather unique Alfa Romeo 147 of Mark Henry. We haven't seen a lot of Mark this year. He's been very busy with starting up a new business and earning the money that enables him to then go and rallycross. And Mark has got plans afoot, plans for the engine bay more accurately, with a long-term goal of rallycrossing an Alfa Mito in a year or two's time. But before that, we can expect to see the Mito's turbocharged engine going into the Alpha in time for next season. All being well, that's the plan. So George Gray being extracted from the gloop, hopefully with no damage to the car, because clearly the engine and transmission are still running. It's just that he got beached, so he should be able to make his way back to the paddock under his own steam.
Here at Knockhill from idea cars and the bike racing events. This is a rallycross track. It's basically the front track, the tri-oval section of the circuit.
Now, we can't see it at the moment, but there should be an orange saxo of Finn Vore. I think he's hidden behind Will Noon's bluey grey RAF blue Renault Clio, but yeah, Finn has had quite an interesting day so far. Started with an immaculate car, and at this stage in the proceedings it's been duct taped and strapped together so that it looks still like a Citroen Saxo, but the orange paintwork is not as good as it had been. At least it's still running. We had hoped that Ben Flynn would be here in another Renault Clio. Ben's unable to join us today. Problems with this new build of Renault Clio, but he'll be with us for next year. Alex Fletcher on the left-hand side there in pole has had another very good season. The Loughborough College run Honda has been very reliable, and Alex is one of those who today may come away with the overall BTRDA champion trophy. So waiting for the marshals to confirm that the track is clear, and then we can be waiting. In the distance we've just seen George's car being taken off the track. And last runner to mention is Ted Shepherd in his blue and purple, sorry, black and purple Swift. No, it's not. It's a Citroen C2. Right. So Will Noon has not got off the line as well as his fellow front rowers, but still, no, he's not going to get his nose in for second at this stage. I haven't yet mentioned that Andy Harris in the brightly coloured Suzuki Swift in the background. Finn Vore pulling up alongside the Renault, but not quite making it, not keeping it there. But has managed to lost a place in all of that by going more onto the dirty stuff around the outside of the bend and losing traction and speed, and therefore position, unfortunately for him. Now, second place has just been won over by Will Noon, who got a lot of traction out of that last corner and accelerating up the hill along the straight. So Alex Fletcher is still leading. We've got Will Noon now in second with Mark Henry in third. We've got Finn Vore in fourth and Ted Shepherd in fifth. So normally very reliable graphics are out of date already. Bouncing over the loose. Finn Vore's got more bodywork issues with a flailing door mirror. Hopefully that won't put him off. I think it would put me off if it was on my road car, but thankfully Finn's going to be concentrating on other things other than his door mirror. Up the hill, really there's not much to choose between any of the runners. It's a very close call with our first five. Showing how this sort of race can in wax and wane. We've got Finvor has just set the fastest lap in his Saxo, which demonstrates if he's not trying to knock his Dolmir off, he's very, very fast, and someone to keep an eye out for in future. I struggled a lot so far with vision problems where the car is steamed up. Oh, Will Noon taking an interesting line and it's taken out Finvor. Oh golly, Oh, and he's taken Mark Henry along with him as well. Oh boy, that seemed to have been a whole catalogue of events, and Will Noon's now developed a rear spoiler. So I think what seems to have happened is that Will Noon clipped the tyre wall coming off the transition between the loose to the tarmac, and in doing so he's then knocked offline and taken Finvor and Mark Henry with him. Okay, red flag, race is stopped, everyone back to sort of walking pace or a bit more, and this race will be restarted because we currently have two cars that are not running. You can see the damage to the back of Will's car. Oh gosh. But also gives us a chance to see the roll cage on the inside and the whole stream of barriers, so we're going to have another look at that. So we can see Will Noon on the right hand side of the screen taking Will. Oh yes, so yeah, he just stopped by hitting the tyre wall and doing a lot of damage to his own car, and that's forced himself into the path of young Finvor with the once immaculate orange Saxo, and Mark Henry with the almost immaculate Alpha 147. Not a pretty sight. No. It's quite possible that that Will Noon in the slightly rearranged Renault Clio is going to be allowed to start with the boot up, and you might not even be aware that it's down, because with the hands device that I mentioned earlier on that holds your head to your neck, you can't turn around very much, and it's okay. So the marshals, I think, are going to change to close his boot off. Hopefully that doesn't then penalise him from continuing with the race. But Andy Harris in his very bright green Suzuki Swift at the rear. So we have take two. We'll have our production final light of a few of the runners. Sadly no Mark Henry, no Finvor, and I believe everyone else who had started originally will be able to make the restart, but our thoughts go to Mark Henry and Finvor, and also to the marshals having to rearrange the tyre barriers. In previous years, I'm sure that those particular barriers that they're working on now have not been there, and it's enabled the rallycross track to continue almost on a straight from the transition from the loose onto the tarmac and then into the final corner. Maybe this sort of chicane arrangement has been put in to slow people down so they're not going too fast into the final corner. I'm sure that Will Noon would rather that they hadn't been there. A thought echoed by those who followed straight behind him.
Marshall said, just having a little perusal around the back of that Renault, just making sure that everything is still in one piece, nothing's going to fly off or having to be amputated in any way.
Meanwhile, the drivers who've returned to the grid, their nerves will be possibly jangling more, and especially so for Alex Fletcher, who is hoping to be able to take the overall final, the overall BTRDA Championship back home to Loughborough with him. And it now looks as though our marshals have rearranged the track so that the chicane's no longer there. Well, that's somewhat unusual. And maybe it's just as well that that our fastest cars here will not be racing this slightly revised track now with that straight line. Would have slowed down slightly by the further tie back, the tie wall in the distance. But here we go. We can expect the red light to go off, for the track to be declared open again, and for racing to commence.
Chaos that can cause in terms of damage to tyres on any race car, but I'm sure in rallycross tyres are, of course, the most sensitive of topics, because not only are you allergic to car damage, but also when you're in the loose, that can cause its own problems. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's along.
Right, so we're going to see what difference it makes now that that chicane has been removed. What will happen? And has any damage been made to Will Noon's car by the smacking that he's had? Just now, we will soon find out. So all eyes will be on Alex Fletcher on the left-hand side, who would expect to make a good escape from the grid. We're about to start. So we can expect this race to be the full length. We haven't heard anything else other than so another 5 laps for us to enjoy, and hope that they've all got enough fuel to last the distance. And it is Alex Fletcher who's made another good start. He hasn't got Mark Henry to vie with at this point, unfortunately, but Will Noon has slotted into second, with Ted Shepherd right on his battered bumper. So we've got a little bit of contact. Will Noon's going round, eek. And Ted Shepherd has rearranged his car. Oh gosh, one at a time, boys. And it looks to me as though Ted Shepherd with his Citroen, oh gosh, has got some camber problems on his car, and Will Noon is sadly not going to make the race distance, I don't think, with the front suspension as damaged as it is. So unfortunately, that seems to have spoiled our fun with Will, sensibly retiring. He was telling me earlier on, before the finals, that he was looking for something to do in the winter period after the season's finished, and now it's going to be rebuilding the front and the back of his Renault Clio. And his previous owner, Mark Finch, will not be taking in, not be refunding any of the money that Will had paid him for the car, because it wasn't in that condition when he sold it. So there's Andy Harris in what still looks quite an immaculate looking car. Well done, Andy. And then we've got Ted Shepherd with perhaps some damage to his C2, but if it is damaged, from what we've just seen there, it doesn't seem to have slowed him down. So can Ted now catch up with second position Andy Harris? He's obviously determined to get second position, because he's set the fastest time. Alex Fletcher will be wishing at this stage for the checkered flag to happen as soon as possible, because he wants this race, its final, to be over, and so that he's got as many points as possible. But it doesn't work like that. He's got to keep going, and as I predicted, our second and third places are very close together. I'm sure there's damage to that suspension on the offside front of Ted Shepherd's car. Yes, he's done it. Actually, maybe it's just the mud flap that's been changed position. So, Alex Fletcher takes another lap closer to finishing and winning the championship. Looks like conditions are getting worse and worse for us. It's likely to feature Andy Harris's car, which we haven't seen a great deal of. But there's Alex Fletcher. Come on, he's getting caught quite rapidly. Ted Shepherd is obviously not bothered by what's happened in the past. He wants to win. He's a racer, and it might be that Alex Fletcher hasn't even noticed that he's there. It could have a bit of a wide awakening if Ted goes past him. So what's going to happen? Tune in. Well, keep tuned and find out. We have got one more lap left. So here we go. It's all on. Alex has definitely stepped up a gear. He's got back to his normal racing pace. I'm sure he was just counting the corners until he's finished. But no, it's not like that. Ted Shepherd's got his own ideas. He wants to win this year. Thank you very much. And if it means getting past the champion, sometimes you can try too hard, and probably holding on to his race seat by his backside. Well done, Ted. You're getting your money's worth for your entry fee this way. It's good to see. It's not over yet. They've still got one more corner, and then there's the run up to the flag, and oh my word, Alex Fletcher gets it, but only by a car's length after all that. My word. If you enjoyed it half as much as I did, I've enjoyed it twice as much as you. And there we are, our third and final finisher. Try saying that quickly with a mouthful of apple. Andy Harris. Well done. Wow. Mentioned earlier on that Alex Fletcher is one of several drivers who could win the overall BTRDA Championship. In order to do that, you need to win your own class, and Alex will have won the production class, and it's then depending on who's got the most points out of Alex and the other winners. Elliot Fuster, we saw in the juniors earlier on, was another driver who has won his championship, and we'll see which of those drivers gets the most points. If you win the overall championship, you are not given the championship for your class. So if you win the overall, like Alex Fletcher did last year, he didn't win the production class as well. He won the overall. You can't win more than one championship in the BTRDA in 1 year, not in the same discipline. So we'll see how that all works out by the end of the day. But we've got Alex Fletcher in front of Ted Shepherd, Andy Harris, and then we have the three non-finishers. Unfortunately, we started, it seemed like an hour ago, with the beginning of that particular race. But yeah, very, very exciting, and thankfully I'm not the one paying the bill. But we hope that all of those cars are able to be repaired and returned to the track for the start of our new season, the 2026 season, which will start at Blyton Park in March 26. I've got a racing truck in the background. Our view there towards the end of the paddock where the cars come out onto the track shows a mixture of cross cars and classics. Closest to us are the classics. So what's our next final going to be? Because we're out of order for our regular scheduled agenda. None of us seem to know what's going on. Now, if it's the classics, we can expect Vince Bristow, I beg his pardon, on pole position in his BMW 3 Series. Although maybe if it was Vince Hill, he could play us a little bit of respect or something like that. Serves me right watching a bit of video on YouTube in the week with some of Erasure and Depeche Mode on it. So I've got Vince Hill on the mind. So yeah, Vince Bristow, Captain Sideways, with his very entertaining 3 Series BMW. 2 weeks ago, Vince was running his BMW at Mondello Park. The year before, when he was racing, the commentators there, I think it was Leo McNulty, shout out to Leo, he was commenting that there's a couple of classic Mark II Escorts and what looks like a mini cab behind, referring to Vince's 3 Series BMW. So 2 weeks ago, on his return to Mondello, Vince had a little sign up on the roof of the car with mini cab written on it, and unfortunately the commentators missed it on that occasion. I saw it, I got the joke. So there's a lot of us here scratching our heads wondering what the dickens is going on, other than the rain continues, the track continues to get damper, and the light is getting a bit dark. I'll try and find out what's going on and I'll be right back with you. news as it happens when it happens. Dear listener, we can exclusively reveal that Will Noon will be dipping into a large supply of Hyundai Performance Blue for the repairs, the bodywork repairs to his Renault Clio 182 that we saw just now. Thank you, Mark Finch, for that inside information. Good on you. Nice to know that you're still awake. Well done. And hope you're enjoying it. And we want to see you back out racing again. Where are you, sir? Come on. Let's be having you. Now, I understand that the pickup that we've just seen coming back off the track into the paddock has been rescuing the rear bumper for Will Noon. So he'll be able to stick it back together, maybe, for the long journey south this evening. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we apologise for the gap there in proceedings, whilst Will Noon's or the remains of Will Noon's Renault Clio were retrieved from the track bit by bit, bumper first and then whole of the rest of the car. So we should be able to continue expecting our classics competitors to come out soon. And just a little shout out to young Phoebe Cake, who at the age of 15 is the only female rallycross driver racing in Europe, and as she has been this year. She's progressed from the juniors, as I was mentioning earlier on, a number of names of those who have progressed from junior categories into senior rallycross at different levels. And Phoebe's a wonderful current example of someone who's moved recently from juniors to be racing in supercar lights and Swifts and cross cars in the UK and Europe. So good on you, Phoebe. Keep it up, and the rest of the family. So, turning our attention now to our long-awaited classics, who gave us an absolute classic race in heat 3. We've got Vince Bristow and not Vince Hill taking up pole position in his his 3 Series BMW. Steve Gaunt alongside him in his front drive Vauxhall Corsa B, and Ian Biaggi joining him on the front row in his Austin Mini, which I can safely and categorically say is the oldest competing rallycross car in the UK, if not anywhere else in the world. Still very competitive. Our red lights are getting longer and our green is about to arrive, and away we go. Ian Biaggi taking an interesting line there with the Mini, underpowered compared with some of the others, and we've got debuting in the blue Fiesta, the Fezbomb, rear drive Mitsubishi powered and turbocharged Fiesta. It was all of a handful. I think you could just watch him all the way around. So we've got Vince Bristow in the lead with and having his windscreen filled with mud is Steve Gaunt. And then we've got Captain Showboat, the debut in Fiesta, Ian Biaggi. That's what looks like Thomas Edmonds' Corsa, and I think they're probably all suffering from the fact that we've had that delay and that water has built up on the track. It is as wet here as it looks, boys and girls, ladies and gents, and never mind, we've still got great racing. With Vince Bristow leading, with Steve Gaunt close behind. And here on the screen is Helen Crooks in her classic Mini, very much more standard version than the car on screen here at the moment, which is Ian Biaggi's highly modified version, which has got elements of it of prototype Mini dating before 1959 launch. So Vince Bristow in the foreground there, doing what Vince does best, going sideways, which is one of the reasons why we love him. And debut in there, always worth watching. He loves it, going sideways, showboating. It's all good fun. I can only imagine the size of the Cheshire Cat grill going on inside that crash helmet, as Vince very quickly and expertly takes the continues in the lead. Though Steve Gaunt is now flagging up as being the fastest on track at the moment, so he's keen to do his best and pour water on Vince's parade. So debut comes down to that shaft off Camber Corner, and whilst Vince continues with what is actually quite a standard looking car. It's got an amazing engine in there, but the rest of the car is just filled with scaffold, roll cage. But it does look a very standard thing from the outside. But Steve Gaunt, he's got the hammer down. He's determined to catch up with Vince. Now, catching up with Vince is one thing, but overtaking him would be something else, because Vince very rarely stays in a straight line. Vince has now got the fastest lap, so he's decided that maybe should concentrate on going straight, which is unusual for Vince. So we've got Vince bouncing over the loose. There he is. White's at a flurry. So at least he's got a clear screen, although if he continues catching up with Helen Crooks's Mini, then she's going to be throwing up some mud at him anyway. It's unusual to have a car being lapped in rallycross, but we'll see. They are very different cars after all. It's great to see a 1275 Mini hammering around on the track in the style of the old Mini-Cross fashion. So Vince puts in another fast lap. Steve Gaunt doesn't seem to have quite the legs to keep up with him now. He's under-braking with the front drive Corsa B. Very similar looking to the car that we saw Kieran Curran driving earlier on, but Kieran's is much more modified than this fairly standard car that Steve Gaunt is racing. Good stalwart for the BTRDA Rallycross Championship. As one of our long-term competitors and headline sponsor. Thank you, Steve, for all that you do for the sport. And now, depending on what happens here, hopefully Vince gets by, yes he does, without any dramas, and he should have enough of a gap there between himself and our second place driver, Steve Gaunt. So there he is. It's going to be a slightly shorter journey back to Hastings for Vince, knowing that he's won his race, and I believe he may have won classics, or was that Steve Gaunt?
Yeah, so I think second place in the final will be enough for Steve Gaunt to pick up our pre-95 classic title as Mr. Ewing spins on the final turn. But yeah, Vince is taking the overall win in the A final, followed by Steve Gaunt, and I think Ian Biaggi just got third place ahead of Thomas Edmonds in the Corsa. And then Dave Ewing, I think that classifies him down in fifth place, and then Helen Crooks will be our final finisher. So yeah, I think that second place in the A final is enough for Steve Gaunt to pick up the pre-95 Classic Championship. Obviously provisional, of course, but yeah, well done, Steve. And yeah, certainly having just ventured outside for 5 minutes, the conditions seem to have taken a turn for the worse in the past couple of finals in terms of the rain and the amount of standing water on the circuit. We've got two finals left from an event perspective. So we've got the National CrossCar A final to come up, and then we've got the FIA Motorsport UK CrossCar A final. Then there'll be a short gap, and then we've got three super finals coming up at the end of the day, which are three non-championship races, one for juniors, one for cars or saloons, and then there'll be a CrossCar King of the Hing final as well. So yeah, 5 more races to go, and yeah, fingers crossed we get through it trouble free. So yeah, the first one to come to line is the National CrossCar A finals. So to stop these guys getting involved in anything from a championship perspective, we have split the finals, so it's going to be a 2-car A final with Paul Brogan and Ben Walsh. So it's number 46 Paul Brogan that will line up on pole position, and in second place Ben Walsh will be lining up alongside him on the grid for their A final from a national spec perspective. And then like I say, after this race we'll end up with the Motorsport UK CrossCar A final, that will see a front row of David Kane, Patrick O'Donovan and Liam McMullen. But let's get the Nationals up and running first of all, and yeah, let's see who comes out best between these two cars. Obviously Paul's gone and qualified on pole, and Ben Walsh alongside, so yeah, let's see how we get on. So we've got Paul Brogan in the MV Racing CrossCar 750cc, and we've got Ben Walsh in the speed car, again 750cc motorcycle engines. So that's how they differ from the Motorsport UK version. So yeah, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, short delay, and then we'll be away for their 5-car A final. And it's Ben Walsh that goes and makes the best start out of the two of them, and leads them down into turn 1 over and down into Deffer's Dip, and then we'll go through and into McRae Corner. Slight twitch there from Paul Brogan in the MV. But as they go onto the loose, I think conditions would have worsened a little bit since they've done the 3rd heats. But let's see who goes to the loose section, and it is indeed Ben Walsh that's picking up the lead. Paul Brogan in 2nd place. So both of them have got polycarb windows front and windscreen wipers frantically going. In these vehicles, you kind of get a choice, and we've got an incident there. So it looks like Paul's gone and lost his front wheel. So he's gone and hit the inside of the barriers, and he's dislodged and taken off the front corner of that vehicle. Safely moves it out the way, and Ben has managed to squeeze on past. So yeah, unfortunately there for Paul is going to be a retirement, and a 2-car becomes 1 car as Ben Walsh now goes across the line to start lap number 2. So yeah, now we were expecting some more national spec cross cars to come across. Unfortunately, the event here at Knockhill clashed with some events over in Ireland, which has cost us, I think, a few competitors. But hopefully, fingers crossed, for next year's event, hopefully we'll get some more national spec competitors across if they don't already move up to the Motorsport UK FAA spec vehicles. And yeah, Paul is Ben is frantically working at the wheel as they're going across this loose section. Difficult to control through the wet mud and sludge that we've got, and yeah, he's going to come through and take up lap 3. Bit of anti-climax in the end. These guys were competing with the other vehicles during the day, and we're just going to get a replay. So yeah, Ben goes out a little bit wide. Paul thinks he's got a brave move on and comes up the inside. Yeah, I think he just got caught out. So Ben moved across onto Paul, and yeah, Paul's caught the inside tyres, which unfortunately is taken off the front right corner of the vehicle. So yeah, Paul's obviously going nowhere else. As Ben is now on lap number 3. He's running wide, certainly running a lot wider there than he was before. He's either avoiding the puddles or the loose is certainly pushing him out wide in these slippy conditions. And, yeah, he's going to go over the line and start lap number 4. And there he goes over the line, starts lap number 4. Yeah, no, we've got a cross-car super final coming up at the end, so hopefully if Paul can get his vehicle fixed, both Ben and Paul will hopefully feature in that super final, so we'll get these national spec vehicles back against the Motorsport UK FIA spec vehicles. So it should be a good race, which will be our final race of the day. Fingers crossed they all come out to play. And yeah, as he's going through these little loose sections, and yeah, keeping on the straight and narrow as we're going to come round into lap number 5. This is the prelude for certainly a great A final race we've got coming up next. So yeah, after the conclusion of this race, Paul's Ben's now on his final lap. But yeah, after this race we're going to have the Motorsport UK A final for those guys. It's round 10 of their championship. 2 rounds to go after this, so yeah, full 12-round championship. Early November they go down to Linden Hills, part of the 5 Nations Championship event. And like I said, we've got a great front row with David Kane on pole position. We've got Patrick O'Donovan in the middle of the front row, and then the outside Liam McMullen and yeah, a gaggle of 7 further cross cars after that, all FIA spec, all Motorsport UK approved vehicles, and there we go. So as Ben comes across the line to claim his national cross car win. Well done, Ben. And like I say, a bit of an anticlimax in the end with Paul going out on lap number 1. But good results for Ben. He can get cleaned up and ready for hopefully the super final at the end of the day.
Official UK National Championship founded by Motorsport UK last season. It was official championship a couple of years back. It's been steadily growing as well over the last couple of seasons of the MSUK CrossCar Championship, and it's really been showing its popularity over the course of the season. This year, I think, has been one of the most popular seasons to date for the MSUK National Championship, with a very huge turnout of drivers over the course of the season, and even more so given the fact the MSUK Championship races for not only alongside the 5 Nations British Rallycross Championship, it's the main Rallycross Championship of Britain, but also competes alongside the BTRDA Championship, which is what we're seeing this weekend. And so it's a very busy schedule for them, but it's always super entertaining to see these cross cars. In fact, the last event was at Knockhill for the MSUK Championship, where they ran the 2-wheel drive Rallycross Super Prix, and that is a fairly recent event. And as that name suggests, it's a Rallycross event for 2-wheel drive cars, which is called cross cars, being rear-wheel drive, actually counts. And obviously, but on the ball standard, it was a very, very successful event. It didn't count towards the main British championship as such, because the supercars and other big sort of four-wheel drive cars weren't attending, just some two-wheel drive cars allowed, but no doubt they will be a proper show with these MSUK cars. This, of course, their penultimate event in the championship, and that is something to really point out to everyone here. This is their penultimate event of the season. It's not a championship deciding weekend, unlike the other classes, the BTRDA we're seeing, because the MSUK Championship will have its final event at Knockhill in November, where it's back on the 5 Nations Championship roster.
Yeah, just having a look at that car on Paul Rubens, it looks like the offside wheel and suspension is just torn right off the vehicle. So it's sitting at the back end of the Rallycross circuit, so you can roll it well to that off the circuit with it hopefully sitting on 2 wheels.
Yeah, and also these cross cars as well, of course, as I said, they're basically both to an extent, and that means that they're very, very lightweight built, very purpose-built chassis. And pretty much like you see in Baja buggies and even the RX-150s that we used to see at British Rallycross Racing events, there's a lot of suspension, a lot of very mechanical.
So here we are then with the Motorsport UK FIA CrossCar A final. David Kane on pole, Patrick O'Donovan next to him, and Liam McMullen on the outside of the front row. And Teddy McPherson on the second row alongside Max Weatherly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, short delay, and away we go. Fairly equal start across all three of them. In fact, David Kane
got the edge
slight,
there,
slight
the line anyway.
better getaway. That was Teddy McPherson on the slow way. Look at the spray going down the start and finish straight. So yeah, Liam's got into second place, but then Patrick's pitching wheel going down.
Each other.
Scrumming over second, third and fourth places there, but it's David Kane that's gone away in the speed car Wunderall, and potentially with a clear windscreen.
That's a big advantage when the conditions are.
It's going to be a massive advantage, but I think the conditions have changed massively between the third heats and the A final, so let's see how they all pan out going through.
Oh, hello, we have a spinner.
Knox and Stephen Burke sparring in front of Ben Bartlett, I think that was. And we've got Teddy McPherson that's appeared against the tyres in front of us. So as we come through to finish the end of lap 1, it's David Kane in the lead, Lee McMullen in second place, and I think that's Patrick O'Donovan in third.
Yes, it is.
I think that is Max Weatherly, I think, in fourth, and Bradley Turner in fourth, and Max Weatherly in fifth as we went across the line after that lap 1.
Number 13, Patrick O'Donovan gets to the.
Teddy McPherson.
This is going to be a red flag, isn't it?
Red flag. Yeah, red flag. So Teddy McPherson stuck against the barriers going through the loose sections. So we're going to have a full restarts.
You can see just as they're going along so slowly, you can just see how operations are. And speaking to some of the drivers, it's very much like driving on ice. There's so little grip, and the car's losing grip. Revs are rising, and it's gripping again, and revs are dropping back down again. It's very, very difficult, and even more so, John, when you've got mud being thrown at you from in front, the sides, and underneath. So these cross car drivers, I salute you.
Yeah, so obviously early on today we've obviously got a fairly smooth line going through the loose, but obviously as it's got wetter, and that's pushed the mud onto the non-racing line, but obviously as it's got wetter and wetter through the day, it's now meant that the cross cars certainly going through here are now offline, and now they're in effect the muddy stuff, and to your point, Steve, it's just like driving on ice. So hopefully we can get Teddy's car removed fairly quickly. If he could make it back to the grid under his own steam, they probably would let him restart, but I think he's
it's always
wedged.
Always down to the clerk of the course, isn't it?
It is, clerk of the course discretion. So they're pushing Teddy's cross car back.
Hopefully the steering's not been affected.
Yeah, I think he was the only one affected. I think everyone else did make it back to the grid. So
So Teddy's another example. We've been talking on and off during the course of the live stream about the success with the juniors, with how great a way it is to start your motorsport journey. Well, Teddy's spinning the car around and giving the marshals a big dose of mud, which I'm sure and it's at times like this we really do want to thank the marshals for being out there in all conditions, and with conditions as bad as this. Again, we salute you, boys and girls. Thank you so much for doing what you do, unpaid and unheated and very wet on a day like today. It's fantastic what you do, because without the Orange Army we would not be able to race. I proudly wear an orange heart on the front of my car in honour of marshals in the past who have sadly passed whilst doing what they love. Anyway, we shall shortly be underway again, and I very much hope that 119 Teddy McPherson is able to rejoin if the clerk of the course at his discretion has allowed him to do so. Right, red lights are appearing. We're getting ready. The revs are rising.
And away we go. And again, it's a fairly equal start as we go off the line. But again, I think that's Teddy McPherson that's slow going off the line, but
he's more used to starting in a circle rather than a straight line, I think.
he is.
What
But yeah, no, take 2 on this one. So
Will
yeah,
David
David Kane out front. I think that's Patrick O'Donovan this time has got into second place ahead of Lee McMullen, and then the last of the vehicles follow through. And yeah, I've just been informed by the clerks of the course, due to the inclement weather out there as well, we're not going to hold the super final, so in effect this will be the last race of the day. As you can see, the conditions have taken a turn for the worse, so this will be our final of the day, final of the year finals of the CrossCar of the event and stuff. So yeah, let's get back to the head of the field as David Kane comes over the line to start.
Oh no, another red flag?
We've got a second red flag. Not sure what that is and where the incident is, if the cameras potentially can pick it up, but yeah, we've got another red flag out there in the year final, so I guess we'll go for third time lucky.
Well, if the start of any race really gets you, if you're into drag racing particularly, then this is your day. We're having plenty of restarts. Yeah, so let's hope that there's no one injured, and that all of our starters will be able to restart. There's 119 just gone past our camera position, Teddy McPherson, and probably waiting for our front runners to come back round again, which then starts my mind wondering, have they got enough fuel, having had several laps at race speed? There we are. There's whereabouts is that? Oh, okay, so it's soon after the transition from the tarmac to the mud at McRae. In fact, there's a similar position where some of the juniors came croppers earlier on. So hopefully we can get the car pushed away from the tyres, and it can perhaps even go under its own steam. The question is, will the steering and suspension be okay if it's had a little bit of tickle against the tyres? I do love my alliterations. And I've heard that the final is being trimmed to 3 laps.
You take 3 strikes, and sometimes that 3rd strike doesn't pan out the way you want it to. As the cars line up on the grid again.
Yeah, so definitely it's a three lap final now, which is probably the right and fair thing to do. Everyone taking their now familiar positions on the grid, and we can restart. Those nerves will settle down a bit, the professionalism might kick in a bit more, and we'll see a bit more clean driving. Although I say that in terms of driving because the car certainly aren't clean by the time this final ends. So far we've seen David Kane on the left-hand side there in the white cross car making very good starts, and then battles between Liam McMullen in the red car on the right-hand side and Patrick O'Donovan in the number 13 car in the middle there without a windscreen, having a duking it out between them for 2nd and 3rd place. So place your bets now as to how this is going to end up.
We're going for
I'm not a betting man.
Third time lucky here, so we'll see if Mr. David Kay manages to get off the line again, but I can see that Patrick seems to be, see the camera angle, certainly Patrick seems to have angled his vehicle towards David, so let's see what happens off the line. Obviously Liam McMullen on the second row, but I think all vehicles did come back round to the grid, so I think we should be going with a 10 car A final. It has been dropped to 3 laps, so yeah, winner takes all 3 laps, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and
revs are rising.
Revs are indeed rising. Lights out, and away we go. And it's a fairly equal start going off the line, and yeah, it was a bit close and hairy going off the line, but yeah, David's got the lead. Liam's slotting into second.
Oh, hello. And
Patrick's
slowed right down
very briefly, but I think that's Bradley Turner that's dropped into 3rd place. Max Weatherly's down in about 5th or 6th, though Max Weatherly's the current championship leader and certainly needs to be looking to move up position. So yeah, fingers crossed we get through the loose. So David Kane,
we've got some more collisions going on.
There's
Dear, oh dear. And it's difficult. It's a bit
certainly
of a commentator's
difficult to work.
curse, isn't it?
Definitely a commentator's curse. We do with a jet watch on them as they're going around. We can
Well,
see
number
Max.
7 is Max Weatherly.
He is, yes. Max is there with having a battle there
long
with
way,
Todd.
long way down in the running.
Fairly hairy going through, but as we come through to finish lap 1 and start lap 2, is David Kane up front.
Did you say finish or fish? I think fish would be more appropriate for this, which is at the moment. So
Indeed, yeah, David Kane out front, Liam McMullen in second, Patrick Donovan seems to have picked up a bit of speed and picking up 3rd place now going through that loose section. We've got Teddy McPherson in 4th and Stephen Burke in 5th.
Will Ovenden went past the camera position, not looking at full speed, which is a bit of a concern.
Go down into Duffer's Dip, so let's see, Bradley Turner, Ben Bartlett and then Max Weatherly, so I think that's 4th, 5th and 6th places there. Stephen Burke here that's currently
A little wide, losing a bit of time.
He's trying to chase down Teddy McPherson. Half spin there for Max Weatherly, who's currently sat down in about 7th position, I think.
I suspect there's some visibility problems going on
yeah,
there.
I'd say so, definitely. And I think Todd Crooks is currently down in 10th. So as we come round to start what will be our final lap, and yeah, David Kane still out front,
And pulling away, he's set the fastest
gap.
lap.
So yeah, he's
only
already
clean car
going
on
through
track.
the loose section. Seems to be gliding through there significantly better than the other vehicles at the moment. So yeah, David Kane out front, Liam McMullen still in 2nd place, Patrick O'Donovan in 3rd as they came across the line. So yeah, David Kane's going to come through to take the final win and maximum points. Yeah, David Kane wins in the Speed Car Wonder R,
Despite there not being a checkered flag.
And, yeah, the advantage of
righty-ho. Red flag out.
red flag is out, but Liam McMullen's come across 2nd.
Well, I sound somewhat confused. No checkered flag, but red flags instead. Is that because
So we've had 2 across the line. I think
is that because
first
the call
place.
to the red flag had gone out before David Kane had taken the checker?
Possibly. So I think we'll probably go back a lap in terms of race distance. It'll probably get declared because we've gone past 3/4 distance. So I think David Kane will still be declared as being the winner.
Right, so this Will
Ovenden
very
is down.
muddy and wet and bedraggled looking unhappy, Will Ovenden in his broken down car, which did go past our camera position much slower than the normal, and that would be the reason for the red flag.
Yes.
So it's then down to what the clerk of the course is going to decide as to whether or not to have another restart, or whether, as you suggest, John, it's declared after 2 laps, which would still see David Kane having won. Now, with cars being allowed off the track back into the paddock, it would suggest that that will be it. So as soon as we know one way or the other, we will let you know.
This year's JCW champion in the mini JCW in 2025. Title confirmed at Brand Hands in the British Touring Cars. So again, it just shows the real misfortunes of families in racing, doesn't it? One is claiming championship while the other is having teething troubles with his CrossCar. But we've still got the other final, the King of the Hill final at the end of the day, so a chance for redemption there, and of course the Lynn Hill finale at the end of the season. So it's not over yet for the likes of London, and of course the championship battle still pretty much on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think there's a law which will be arranged that the King of the Hill, which will be anything in between, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this event, of course, pretty much seeing who is the King of Knockhill, which of course is the season finale for the BTRDA Championship this weekend. The juniors will be out first, and then of course the one I'm absolutely looking forward to is the Super Final. And that to me reminds me very much of when the old days of British Rallycross main championship, you had super finals for the women's cars and supercars and Supermodified. Of course, we don't have supercars. Supercar division here.
Good. So that in terms of the live coverage, that does finish the live coverage in terms of the racing here at Knockhill. So the Motorsport UK CrossCar A final was declared after 2 laps. So David Kane taking the win. I think at that point Liam McMullen was second and Patrick O'Donovan was third. But hold on the live stream, because we're going to do some live interviews on the live stream with some of our A final winners. And also we'll be able to have the opportunity to have an interview with our overall 2025 BTRDA champion. So they'll be coming up very, very shortly. So stay online, stay on the live stream, and we'll get these interviews to you as soon as possible. But in terms of the coverage itself, thank you for watching the racing, and stand by for the interviews.
Channel 2 is nothing. I'm glad to have caught up with our new junior champion, Elliot Fuster. Elliot, what a season you've had, and what a wet day today.
Yeah, it's been a really, really good season. After rolling and winning every single round after that with a brand new build car, I think we've come really fast and got a lot of got a lot more confident with the car, and yeah, I think it's just been a really good day. I was struggling a little bit this morning with the pace, and I found after the first heat, after a small spin, ended up still getting P2 in that race. Won every single race after that and winning the final and the championship. So
I think that's called an emphatic win. But sort of change round seemed to have been at Pembrey with the roll, and then the reshelling of all the mechanicals, and you've just not looked back from there.
Yeah, really big thanks to my team, Sportec, Wayne and Ashley. We built the car in less than a month, rebuilt it in less than a month, ready for the next round after, which I think was Blyton. But yeah, it's just flown by and just trying to drive as hard as possible. But
very cleanly, all the same.
Yeah. Minimal contact is the way I like to drive. So.
Yeah. It's good to hear, and it's meant to be a non-contact sport, but rubbing is racing, we know that. But thinking of racing, what's the plan from here on?
I'm not sure about next year. We'll either be doing CrossCar production or going back into circuit racing, I think. But it's all under budget, of course.
Yeah, of course you can't do anything without a budget. You've already given your team a shout out, because these things don't happen on your own. But what I would like to say, my very hearty congratulations to a very good win, great performances all through the year. Well done.
Thank you very much.
I'm pleased to have found Alex Fletcher. We've spoken a lot over the course of this year and last with winning rather a lot, and here you are having won yet again, Alex.
Yeah, no, it's been an awesome season. You know, just trying to keep the consistency there and get those wins in. And obviously, I just like talking to you, Steve. That's what it is.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, we can now exclusively reveal that having been the overall BTRDA Clubmans Rallycross champion for 2024, you've done it again.
Yeah, after all of that, yeah, it went down to the wire with Elliot. So yeah, what a way to bring that home. I mean, it was horrific conditions out there. Obviously, I'm sure everyone at home watching saw that. It was an absolute mud bath out there, and getting a production car through that was tricky. So I'm just ecstatic to bring it home for the college, for Weira Tools and all our other support. And obviously the students are here today, and bless them, they're soaked to the skin, but they've got big smiles on their faces that we're bringing that trophy back home for the second year.
Well, indeed. Well, you mentioned about difficult conditions, but from what you were telling me off camera, that where the traction was so on and off and difficult, that you're having to feather and monitor what you're doing with the throttle, and sometimes that didn't go right.
No, exactly. I mean, our car is an absolute rocket ship when the conditions are right, but because obviously we have to run the correct size wheel and tyre as the production car would. We're on sort of the biggest combination out of all the cars on the grid. So that really plays against us in this scenario. You know, we sit on top of the mud rather than dig through it and get any traction. So yeah, when I saw Ed coming up behind me, I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? So I was just trying to clear off down the straights and where we could get some traction and just nurse it through. And yeah, I saw him made it get a bit of a tank slapper on, and that just gave me that little bit into, you know, a little bit of breathing space and just bring that home. Brilliant stuff.
And brilliant, the learning opportunity for your learners here with you from Loughborough College. They've seen, well, not so many of the lows, but certainly a lot of the highs, and a lot of the work put in preparation, changing as you were yesterday evening from the dry spec to the wet setup in preparation for today's rain. It's all been a really good learning experience for them.
Yeah, it's a credit to them. You know, that's why the car's been so reliable. They prep that car back at the college. You know, nothing's ever too much trouble for them. They just get on with it, and obviously they're learning along the way, which is brilliant. So it's for them. They've done a great job.
You've done a great job for yourself, Alex. So let's not beat about the bush here. You're one of only 6 or 7 drivers who've won the overall BTRDA Rallycross Championship twice. Now, will you be the third?
Who knows? I mean, to get on that list, I mean, obviously when we had the conversation at this time last year, I was just amazed to get that. But to get it twice, wow. Everyone's going to be pointing the finger at me going, well, you could be the first to get the triple, but who knows? As you know so well, it's rallycross. Anything can happen throughout the year. You know, you need that resilience. You need those results on the board all the way through the year. It's not just one event. You've got to get them all. And thankfully, we've done it. But we'll try. Obviously, we don't come here to go around at the back. We're here to do a job and, you know, give it our all and reward the students. So yeah, that's what we're all about.
And long may that continue. It's always great to see in the paddock. The way that you and the team have turned out is exemplary and a great example of how it can be done. Maybe some of your direct competitors won't be so pleased to know that your intention is to carry on and rack up another one. But long may it carry on.
Lovely. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we just try and show professionalism, and you know, with our small budget of what we've got, you know, we just take that to the absolute max and you know, be as professional and conduct ourselves in the right way, and that's what they need for going forward into industry. So absolutely brilliant.
Alex Fletcher, BTRDA overall Clubman's Rallycross champion for 2025. My hearty congratulations.
Thank you very much, Steve. That's great. Thank you.
have with me Graham Reed, who's not come too far to come to join us at Knockhill, and pedalling your wonderful Nissan Pulsar 4x4 around the track. You've got the championship for the Clubmans 4x4 this year, Graham.
Yeah, over the moon with it. I feel like it's been 5 years in the making to get a decent run at Knockhill at the home event. So, yeah, very happy. Yeah, we went through the pain, we've persevered, and we've had a decent run. Car's going well. So yeah, chuffed to bits.
Well, so you should be, and I appreciate it has been quite a difficult process with taking the car on, with set up as it was, quite soft, and to make it right for you in rallycross, and then having reliability problems, and then you got a certain Tony Bardi on track.
Yeah, we've got Uncle Tony on the go, so yeah, he loves his old Nissans. So it's went for a couple of holidays at Scotch Corner, but yeah, the results speak for themselves. So yeah, we're happy, and we catch up in the phone a fair bit, which is nice as well. So yeah, so hopefully we'll have a good run next year as well.
Well, that's something to look for us all to look forward to. Many congrats from my end, Graham. Yeah. Well deserved. So pleased that you've got the car behaving itself and reliably.
Yeah. And Knockhill didn't promise the weather as usual, but yeah, the car survived, so that's the main thing.
Well, hurrah for that. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. Cheers.
See you.
Well, that about wraps up the 2025 season for the BTRDA Clubmans Rallycross Championship. We'd like to thank all of the competitors and their teams who've been able to entertain us with wonderful motorsports, very fair, very close racing, for everyone at the BTRDA for organising us all, and for the marshals out there in the sunshine. Not today, but in the muddy and wet conditions. Without you guys and girls, we could not race, and we thank you from here, from the heart. Thank you so much. We'd like to congratulate all of the winners for the various championships, and at the top of that list has got to be Alex Fletcher. Amazing performance all through the year to snaffled his second overall BTRDA championship in Rallycross. Great effort, and we look forward to joining our little exploration through the 2026 Rallycross season next year. Please do join us then. Thank you.